Since when? Since when? Just think about it for a second. Since when do people drive into crowds regardless of who's driving? Since when do we have to twist our own language so that we can barely understand it ourselves? Since when do we slaughter animals with knives and pay attention to the quality of our food? Since when are legally convicted child abusers allowed to work in kindergartens, but Christmas trees in front of kindergartens cause problems? Since when are there more cases of gang rape? What kind of attitude is that? Since when? Since when? Anyone who still thinks the problem is right-wing extremism should take off their rose-tinted glasses. Maybe then they'll see things more clearly. Since when do biological men use women's restrooms? Since when are there tampon vending machines in men's restrooms? And believe me, it's true. Since when is our industry relocating? Since when is your breast tax? Since when is it tax? Since when is it too cold in winter and too hot in summer? I'm going crazy. Since when do people deny our culture and try to forget it? Anyone who still thinks the problem is right-wing extremism should take off their rose-tinted glasses. Maybe then they'll be able to see better. Since when can't people understand their own dear fellow citizens verbally anymore? Since when do they no longer need to take language courses? Since when do those required to leave the country still receive pocket money, while our pensioners and the socially disadvantaged collect bottles on the roadside? Since when has anger been raging in this country? Since when do we take to the streets hand in hand with our foreign taxpayers? And we do this for our shared homeland with mutual respect. Can we do this with heart and mind? Just think for a moment, and the elites can keep their lies to themselves. We must change course before we sink the ship. Your asphalt prophet.